Imagine arriving at Alexandria with grain, wine, timber, and one papyrus roll hidden inside your cargo. To the Ptolemaic state, that roll could be as valuable as anything else on the ship. A later ancient account says officials took books from arriving vessels, sent them away to be copied, returned the new copy to the owner, and kept the original for the royal collection. That story is one reason the Library of Alexandria became legendary. But the real institution was stranger, more powerful, and much harder to destroy than the image we usually remember.
First, forget the modern library. There was no single public room with neat rows of leather-bound books. Strabo, who described Alexandria in the early Roman period, placed the Mausian inside the royal quarter. He mentioned a covered walk, a place with seats, and a large hall where the scholars ate together. The library belonged to that wider institution, part academy, part research community, and part instrument of royal prestige.
Its rooms have not survived. Any exact reconstruction of the shelves, doors, or corridors is an inference. What does survive is the physical world of ancient books. A book was normally a roll made from sheets of Nile papyrus joined into a long strip, written in columns, wound around a rod, tied, tagged, stored, opened, and rolled again. It could crack, fade, tear, absorb damp, attract insects, or simply become unreadable through use. That fragility explains why copying mattered so much.
Galen, writing centuries after the first Ptolemies, preserves the most vivid version of the acquisition policy. He says books brought by sea were copied onto new material. The copy went back to the traveler. The original entered the king's collection marked as a book from the ships. Galen also tells a similar story about the official manuscripts of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides. The king borrowed them from Athens, kept the originals, returned luxurious copies, and surrendered the enormous deposit.
These stories may have grown in the telling, but they reveal the ambition attached to Alexandria. Collect authoritative texts, compare competing versions, and make the royal court the place where the written Greek world could be organized. Inside that system, copying was not mechanical busywork. Two rolls claiming to preserve the same poem might disagree line by line. Scholars compared them, chose readings, marked doubtful passages, and produced new editions. Copyists then multiplied those editions. Knowledge survived because people repeatedly moved it from an aging roll onto a fresh one.
Organization was the second half of the machine. Callimachus compiled the Pinaques, a bibliographic work said to fill 120 books. It grouped authors and works and supplied information that helped scholars navigate an enormous body of literature. The Pinaques itself is lost, so it should not be imagined as a modern card catalog. But its scale tells us something important: gathering text was not enough. A collection became useful only when someone could identify, compare, and retrieve what it contained.
This was also a social institution. Scholars walked, debated, ate together, taught edited poetry, studied language, and worked on mathematics, geography, and astronomy under royal patronage. The famous names associated with Alexandria can make the place seem like a room full of solitary geniuses. The deeper achievement was infrastructural: salaries, meals, buildings, writing material, copyists, storage, and time.
If you enjoy seeing how historical systems worked rather than just hearing the legend, subscribe. That is what world history rebuilt follows: institutions from the ground level.
Now return to the image everyone knows: the library in flames.
During Caesar's war in Alexandria in 48 BCE, ships in the harbor were burned. Later authors agree that the fire spread, but they do not describe its consequences in the same way. Plutarch says it reached and destroyed the Great Library. Cassius Dio speaks instead of dockside storehouses containing grain and books. The accounts were written long after the battle, and archaeology has not given us a clean floor plan that settles the argument.
So the honest answer is not that nothing burned. Books almost certainly did. The honest answer is that the evidence does not support the familiar movie scene in which one building, containing all ancient knowledge, vanished in a single afternoon. Alexandria still had scholars, collections, temples, schools, and book culture after Caesar. Over the following centuries, royal patronage disappeared, political regimes changed, institutions were damaged or repurposed, and papyrus rolls continued to age. Some works had copies elsewhere. Others survived only in a few fragile exemplars. Every time a damaged roll was not recopied, the chain became weaker. That is the real vulnerability of a library built from papyrus. Fire is dramatic, but neglect is patient. A collection can disappear through smaller failures. One workshop closes, one salary ends, one shelf is moved, one catalog is no longer updated, one text is judged unimportant, one final copy decays. The Library of Alexandria was not a magical vault holding the only copy of everything humanity knew. It was a machine that gathered texts, organized them, tested them, and kept them moving forward through copies. And its deepest lesson is not that knowledge can burn. It is that knowledge survives only while people keep rebuilding the system that carries it. Tell us which ancient institution we should reconstruct next.